All right.
And that is right. You are my
That
light.
is
We're
beautiful.
back. We're
Beautiful.
back. World Youth Day Rocks is back with episode 61, my friends.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
know.
thought you were giving me like a 3-year vacation.
No, no. We just finished Lisbon. We took a 3-month hiatus. This is World Youth Day Rocks is a collaboration effort between worldyouthday.com and WYD Central. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm Dario, joined by my good friend Deacon Pedro, talking about all
Hello.
things World Youth Day. Yes, we did take a little break, but it's a
Yes.
good break, an important break.
Yes. Yes.
You, you can
Yes.
you can burn out
It,
quickly from an event like World Youth Day.
it's yeah, and it feels like it was so long ago, but yeah, I mean, really, we only took 3 months off.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just thinking about it, like, as we come to the end of the month of October, early November will be exactly 3 months
Yeah, that's great.
since everybody was
That's
gathered
crazy.
together at Parque Tejo,
Yeah.
at Parque de Encuentro, right?
Yeah.
Eating some good food and enjoying
Yeah.
the atmosphere, having your taste of pastel de natas, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, now it's like, what's happened? It's been 3 months. A lot have happened. A lot's happened.
Yeah.
Um, we did an editorial on World Youth Day for all those who were wondering, were there bad stuff that happened? Look, no World Youth Day is perfect.
Although, can I just say that this one
Yes,
was pretty good? I mean, I
yes,
wasn't, I'm going to admit, I wasn't in Lisbon for the whole week. Um, and so I didn't get to see a lot because we were busy working and delivering shows and stuff. But what I did see was spectacular.
yeah,
Spectacular. And I didn't see, I mean, I didn't hear of any chaos. I'm sure that there's always issues, like you said, here and there, but I didn't hear
yeah,
of anything major that was, other World Youth Days, they talk about, there's like problems with pilgrim packs or problems with accommodations or problems with, I didn't hear any of that for this one. So I'm going to say that it was probably for me, since Rio, because Rio for me was definitely one of the better ones. This was like right up there
yeah.
as a
I
World Youth Day, I must
100%
say.
agree. 100%
Yeah,
agree.
hands down to the Portuguese, to the Lisbon committee.
They
Yeah,
they did an amazing job putting together an event that it
yeah.
was hard to do post COVID, and
Post, yeah,
taking
yes,
consideration COVID was rampant like 2-3 years ago, and now
yeah,
like as the
yeah,
world gathered in Lisbon, we had 1.5 million young people gathered
yeah.
together.
And remember, like
That was
we were all concerned, all leading up to World Youth Day. We were so concerned about everything's going to be, mobile and QR codes and the internet's not. Nothing happened. Like everything was fine. All the QR codes worked. It was amazing. It was
yeah,
amazing that they pulled it off, and the whole thing with sustainability and the environment and no plastic. They did a pretty good job.
they
Pretty good
did.
job. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love the fact that the stage, and people didn't know this
Yep.
about the stage at Parque Tejo, that
Uh-huh.
stage is a permanent fixture that stays now in Lisbon. Although like the cross image is no longer there, the ramps are no longer there. That's a stage that will be used for gatherings, concerts, events on the park for the rest of the lifetime of
That's
that stage.
wonderful. So there's a legacy there. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
absolutely.
So if you visit
Yeah.
Lisbon in 4 or 5 years from now, that stage will still
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
Although it will not probably look the same as what you saw it if you were there in Lisbon, but that stage is there. You can't
Yeah.
say that
That's
about
great.
things like for example, if you
Yeah.
go to Cherry Park in Denver,
Nope.
you won't be able to see anything there. Same if you go to Marion
Yeah.
Field or Randwick Race Park and say, "Where's the stage?" No, it's no longer there.
Yeah, which is great because the amount of money that goes into putting up a structure like that, and
Yes,
then, like you said, it's very normally it just gets taken down the next day.
right.
Um, so that's great. That's great, and that also makes it more affordable. Like maybe that's
Absolutely.
how they're not just spending money, but they're actually investing in the future of the city. So that's
Absolutely. And
great.
speaking of that, I mean, so we can get into this here shortly, but I mean, we sat down, so worldyouth.com sat down with now Cardinal Americo Aguilar, who
Yeah,
was the head of the World Youth Day Committee in Lisbon. And I've met him when he was only a priest. Then he became bishop. And now he's a cardinal, and he's being moved to Setúbal, Portugal, which is literally the next diocese south of Lisbon. And it's very close. So I sat down with him and I asked him 4 questions, but my favorite question by far was number 4, which basically said this. I said to him, so World Youth Day ended at 0 debt. Is that true? Like, I wanted to know because I heard this rumor. And it's because I've come to know the finance director for World Youth Day Lisbon. I've befriended him for a while, as we have had great conversations. And he was like, what I have done this year with this World Youth Day, I hope every World Youth Day copies, because we did not only break even, and this is what he said. Not only did we have 0 debt, but we ended actually with making a profit. And I said to him, what do you do with that? Yeah. He said, most importantly, we must recognize in all that God has provided us, that we need to have a positive balance, that we have agreed with the Portuguese government at a local level in Lisbon and in Lourdes that will be used for youth programming for the city of Lisbon and the county, that is, right?
That's great.
And that the Church of Lisbon will not use any of the extra money for their own youth programs, but it will go to help the local government in providing interest in services for young people.
For youth. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. I wish that every World Youth Day committee could follow the similar thing, but the reality is that not every, like if the Portuguese law allows for private sponsorship for a religious event, that's one thing. In Australia, it was the same thing. I don't think Australia had a debt either, but they had great sponsorship. Yes, all the cars were sponsored. In Canada, we couldn't do this. The law just does not allow, like, all these corporations, they cannot sponsor religious events. So you can't do that. In the US, I don't think you can do it either. In Panama, they could do it, but in Panama, the government also, I think Panama didn't have a debt either. I don't think they had a profit, but it's because the government covered it. The government was a huge supporter. In Canada, the government would not have been a huge supporter of World Youth Day. So we'll have to see what Korea, in South Korea, what's possible. Sponsorship might be possible in South Korea.
Yeah, and I would assume that the Koreans know that this event coming will be a huge booster to the whole region.
Of course. Yeah.
And what an opportunity for evangelization, like, especially for your neighbors of North Korea and China, just being literally miles away.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the government, I think the governments realize, if they realize that this is great for the local economy, because you have 1 million young people, or 500 or 300,000 young people coming to your city, and they're staying in hotels, they're buying dinner, they're buying souvenirs, that's huge. So it makes sense for the governments to invest in an event like World Youth Day. At the same time, I'm going to say, and I don't know, I don't know, so maybe you can correct me, but my understanding, and Panama did the same thing, a lot of the work that was done for World Youth Day was done by volunteers.
Yes.
And that's a lot of work to not pay people to do the work. So of course they save money, because it's done by volunteers. But I know in Panama, a lot of people got burned out because they just can't do it. You can't plan a World Youth Day and not get paid. So I don't know. I didn't hear any horror stories in that end either from Lisbon. So
there are people who are paid in the World Youth Day offices, especially.
Well, they should be paid. Yeah,
absolutely. And then there are those who were volunteers, and I think the majority of the volunteers are only there during the week of World Youth Day.
Yeah, that's the way it
prior and the week of, as they should, right? Not volunteering the whole year. Although, if you do end up volunteering for the whole year prior to World Youth Day, which I'm sure the other World Youth Day years, did that as well. Korea most likely will do that. But I mean, again, they will provide probably housing for you. They will provide you a community to live with. But don't assume you're going to make a salary from it.
But I know in Panama, they hired people to work in the World Youth Day office. And the understanding was that these people would have their jobs, and then they will work in the World Youth Day office, in the evenings and weekends. And that's just not. It comes to a point where you just can't plan an event like this if you're not working full time. And so that's what I mean. So that's kind of a side of volunteers. So, and I think that Lisbon was doing a little bit of that, but I'm not sure. But no, I have just really good things to say about Lisbon, starting with Pope Francis, who was, again, at his best since Rio, and Rio was like the first World Youth Day for Pope Francis 10 years ago. So yeah. And you know what else? I'm trying to not do so much social media, but it was amazing how much social media there was for the rest of August, September, I haven't seen anything in October yet, but there's still, it's like World Youth Day Lisbon, like they're still posting stuff and
Yeah.
posting photos and posting this and trying to keep that spirit alive. So that was great, great to see that it continued. It was kind of the gift that kept on giving.
And I think reliving the messages of Pope Francis are important, especially his homilies. Like if you
Yeah,
haven't
it's
figured
good
out,
stuff.
like if you go on the worldyouthday.com website and hit Lisbon 2023, you'll find every homily, every recap,
Yep.
everything that went on during World Youth Day in Lisbon. So that way you can have that access, that information, and reread it. I'll tell you, like what still resonates to my head is like the Holy Father saying, "Todos, todos, todos," right? When
Yeah,
he's
that's what
screaming at
everybody's,
them.
yeah,
Like
everybody
he's not
remembers that.
saying, everything, everything, everything. He's saying everybody, everybody,
Everyone. Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Right? That's the biggest misconception. He's not saying, guys, bring everything in. No, no, slow down, stop. What he was telling people is that there's room in the church for
Oh,
everyone.
for everyone. Really? Are
For
people
everyone.
actually asking that question?
Yes.
There's
I had
no,
one person
really.
ask
So
me,
there's,
did the
it's because,
Pope say, bring
no, no,
everything into the church to allow the church
todos.
to be infiltrated by
No, no,
everything?
everyone,
Stop,
everyone. Yeah,
stop.
no, it's crazy. And you know what? That quote was even quoted at the synod, I think last week.
Yes.
Somebody brought it up. Yeah, for me, and I apologize to Pope Francis for saying this, but like when Pope Francis first came on the scene, it's like everything he said was new and fresh. And
Yeah.
then it kind of sort of started repeating a lot of the same things. So like, okay, we've heard this important messages, of course,
Yeah.
that, God is a God of surprises and all these things that we've heard so many times. The church, the doors need to be open. But there was something about the way he said things in Lisbon that was different. And we heard different things. His energy, like he was in a wheelchair. You couldn't tell that he was in a wheelchair because his energy he was so alive.
Yeah.
um for me, that was probably the biggest memory that I'm going to have of this World Youth Day, is Pope Francis at his 100% best,
I'm
full of
almost
the spirit.
reminded
Yeah.
of John Paul II in Rome. Remember when everyone's like, "Holy Father, you're not going to be
In
able to stand
2000.
up."
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
2000, and he stands up
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
spinning the cane, and it's like,
No,
look at
yeah,
him.
exactly. He's like totally
Yeah,
energized by
yeah,
what's happening. And then of course for me, this World Youth Day was very apparent. And I'm particular about this because I was the artistic director for two World Youth Days. This World Youth Day had an artistic director, and that's not something that most World Youth Days do. So Korea, if you're listening, hire someone to be in charge of the artistic, and I don't mean the design, I mean the programming,
yeah,
how you stage everything. And you could tell, and it makes a huge difference because you communicate the message better if it's done through an artistic lens. Why? Because it's a staged event. It's
yeah.
meant for TV. It's meant for the stage. So the fact that they had this group of I can't remember what the group was called, but the dancers, the actors,
Ensembles. I think it
the
was an ensemble,
ensemble
right?
23, what a great idea to bring young people from all over the world to live together, to work together, and then to do all the choreographies and all the interventions and everything. And you could tell that just brought everything to the next level, from an artistic point of view, which means that it was a better a better liturgical event
Sure.
because it was done so well,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. And the security. While we're on that topic of how everything flowed, the security was amazing. I was smiling with some of the security guards hanging
Yeah.
out with the chaos of the crowds, and there was just like every time they said to them, "Hey, as a journalist, I need to go out there and hang out with the people." And one of them smiled at me and said, "Good luck. Unless you can fly, you're not getting anywhere, buddy. Do you want some Red Bull? Because I'll give you wings." And I was just like,
Yeah,
"Oh
that's
my
funny.
gosh."
That's
Sorry,
funny.
I'm not endorsing Red Bull, but I'm just telling you like what they told me. Trying to get through the crowds because it was massive crowds, and I didn't even
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah.
Like in the
Yeah. Yeah.
first opening ceremony of the opening mass, I didn't even expect that we would see a sea of people. And there was a sea of people even
Yeah.
before the Holy Father arrived.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
It
said
was great.
800,000 were at the opening mass,
Yeah.
and the crowds were all the way to the water. And it was amazing to see that.
Yeah.
It was a breath of fresh air to think like, okay, it's finally here. Like having seen Lisbon in all the years leading up to it, and then finally seeing that they have, there was a lot of worry, and a lot of people were worried, because I visited Parcotejo like the Monday of, and there was nothing up. It was just like, where's the rest of this stuff? That you guys better get this stuff up there.
Yeah. No, it was,
Yeah.
and it looked, I mean, on TV, it looked amazing.
Yeah.
And with the sunrise, like the
Oh yeah.
sunset on the Saturday night,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
like that location was just
It was a good spot. It reminded me a
spectacular.
lot of Paris when we were at the Paris World Youth Day. The beautiful surroundings of being outside in the park. You know what else has also reminded me of when we were in Rio, the sunrise in Rio from the beach was also another one of those, like you're on the Copacabana
Yes.
beach.
Yeah.
Here's the sunrise, and here's a papal helicopter coming over. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just man, I got to tell you, like we got a good shot of the sunrise
Oh,
with our camera. Still
everybody
playing
did.
around
Yeah.
with the shots. We have like 800 hours of video that we're still
No,
playing
yeah. Everybody had a photo. And I was just looking at one yesterday that ended up on my desktop, and I was like, "What's that photo?" And it's like the sun. The sun. It's either the sunset or the sunrise
with. Yeah.
at Parque Tejo. Yeah, I know. It was so good, so good. Um, one of the things that the Pope said, that I wish it kind of would become like an official thing in the church, was Our Lady of Nuestra Señora de Prisa, Our Lady of Haste, I think is what that was the official translation. That I thought, that that is one thing that I'm always going to remember, to think of Mary as one who goes through haste, but that actually is a title of Mary, Our
Hmm.
Lady of Haste, Nuestra Señora de la Prisa. Um,
Put that in the litanies, right?
put that in the litanies. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the Litany of Mary, Nuestra Señora de la Prisa, Our Lady of Haste.
Well, why
Yeah,
not? I
it's
mean,
just good stuff.
you know, speaking with Cardinal Americo, let me throw another one of those questions that we asked him about World Youth Day, and just seeing what it felt like for him, considering how much work he put into it, how much stuff he did. And this, again, for those of you listening, and remember how much work they put in to help you have an impactful experience. He said, we have been working on organizing this for 4 years, and because of COVID confinement, the event was postponed from 22 to 23. And we are very grateful for that postponement.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we were able to do more work. With so many volunteers from all over the world help us prepare with great love and dedication this amazing event at World Youth Day. But then God provided World Youth Day, with goals, and then individual participation of many young people, and then young people could participate or not independently, or and what's amazing is that everyone in the number of youth presence from the youth festivals, from the City of Joy, from even countries like the Maldives were present at this event. Like,
hmm,
I think that was the only country that was not represented as Maldives. I would also tie in Haiti was unable to go because of issues with
yeah.
getting the visas, but
Visa, and it's expensive. Yeah,
it is expensive. But they said overall, like the City of Joy Lisbon became the City of Joy.
yeah,
And for Portugal and the city of Lisbon in the world, like the Holy Father expressed precisely that joy of realizing, look
yeah,
at this joy, and now infiltrate the world with this joy. And I
yeah.
love how just recently the Holy Father came up with a letter with Saint Therese, the story of Saint Therese, just recently.
Yes,
And
yeah,
in that, he ties in Evangelium Gaudium, which
yes,
again, the gospel and joy, right? The joy of the gospel. Let that joy infiltrate the world. Be like Therese, who takes joy in the
yeah.
small things.
Yeah, I love that joy. And you know what? Thank you for mentioning that, because, or thank you to Cardinal Amerigo for mentioning joy, because to me that's the other thing that stands out, and the fact that they named the Reconciliation Park and the Vocations Fair the City of Joy.
Yeah,
I wrote a blog post about the 10 words of World Youth Day, because
it's
there's
on our
really
website
like,
too.
yeah, really words that really stand out. And one of the
Yeah,
words, of course, was rejoice, because it's all about joy, and joy is missionary. Like, we go on a mission because we're filled with joy. Like, if you're not filled with joy, you're not going to go with haste to bring the good news to somebody else.
yeah.
So it's like both of those go together. And I think the Pope said something like that, that joy, the joy is missionary, that because joy is missionary. Yeah, it was something like that. There was a quote that the Pope said, that joy is missionary.
He also did an homage to John Paul II. I'm sure you saw this on Sunday at the homily on Sunday Mass. He immediately cried out to them, "Do not be afraid to
Oh
bring
yes.
joy to the
Yeah,
ends of the
yeah,
earth."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's like a
yeah,
connection of John Paul II and
yeah,
Benedict XVI. So together, because remember that World Youth Day is not just Francis. World Youth Day is a
oh
continuity
yeah,
of the beautiful things that the successor of Peter has been able to do since 1984. And I love the fact that he connected his predecessors to
yeah,
that
yeah.
mission send off. The Mass
So good.
itself was called the Missionary Mass.
Yes, yes, the mission. Yeah, I know. Yeah. which is not a great translation in English, the
No.
missioning mass, and I still call it, the closing mass, or the
Yeah.
mass of sending forth, or like they
Yeah.
need to come up with something that works. Um,
We'll talk to
uh,
Korea about this one. Korea, if you guys are listening in.
yeah, it's interesting because, and again, that's a problem that the church has, because
Yeah.
things don't translate very well. So something that sounds really good in Portuguese or Spanish or Italian, it doesn't sound great in English. So to find the right expression or the right word. But yeah, they were calling it the missioning mass, or the mass of mission, or something like that, which makes sense, because it's the mass where you get sent forth.
Yep.
World Youth Day, it's like the end of every mass. That's the beginning. Go and announce the gospel of the Lord. You go. Like, it's not like about staying at mass, it's about going. So it makes sense that we go in mission.
And I think what was
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the gospel was, if it was the transfiguration, because I mean
Yes.
that would make sense, because now you
Yes.
can't stay up on the mountain, you got to come down, you got to
Yep.
go.
Yeah.
And
And yeah.
again, I think one of the preparatory Rise Up catechesis
Hmm.
leading up to the World Youth Day days. Remember those 9 wonderful
Yeah.
events that we had to
Yeah. Of
prepare for?
course. Yeah.
Who could forget the
Yeah.
and we have them saved in our episodes. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, it's so funny because I think of the Transfiguration. What an amazing, momentous occasion to be on this mountain, this Parco Tejo, this
Hmm.
Parque de Encuentro, this whole, mercy,
Hmm.
hill of mercy, whatever you want to call it. But yet
Hmm.
we encountered the risen Lord with Pope Francis and the world, and now we've come back
Yeah.
to the world. So it's been 3 months. Like, what should people be doing now in these months post World Youth Day, considering the fact that we talked about some of the joys and the high moments of
Yeah.
the event itself?
Yeah. Well, at first, I think, and I hope that most people that went to World Youth Day, if you went with a group or a young adult group, a youth group, that you don't do what Dario and I did, which was take 3 months off. I hope that you would have right away in August had a get together at home, maybe even done a presentation in your
Yes.
parish, or something to at least to have a wrap up, or a party or something at the very least, but ideally to reflect more on the experience and get a chance to reflect, and then continue. I mean, we've been talking about the Pope's speeches, the words of World Youth Day. Go online and find all those speeches and read them again.
Yeah.
I mean, you could reflect on those. That's a great exercise. There's enough there to keep you going for the whole year, probably, as you take them apart. They're not, I don't think we can say that they're, official church documents, but they are the words of the Pope
Yeah.
that he said. So there's lots there that you could unpack. So that would be one suggestion as you continue,
I would also
working your
throw
way.
in
I
there.
mean, as we work towards Christ the King, which is
Yeah,
diocesan. I mean,
absolutely.
technically, there's
Oh,
some people might think that there's no diocesan youth day this year because there was a international World Youth Day.
that's
But I
correct.
know, and we know our friends in Montreal are already planning their World Youth Day week.
Of course they
So
are.
so there's an opportunity there to do something, even if it's in your parish, just for your group, so that you keep the momentum going and then every event that you do for your youth, make a link make a link to Lisbon, and then as soon as things start coming out from Seoul, start linking to them, so that there's that bridge. Otherwise, it just becomes like Dario was saying, like you're up on the mountaintop, and then what?
Yeah. And then you become indifferent, because it's like, where can I find that experience?
Yeah,
I
exactly. And you're
won't be
not
able to
going
find
to.
it in my parish or my
No,
diocese.
no,
It's terrible.
absolutely, you're not going to find it anywhere.
No.
So hold on to that. Hold
Yeah.
on to that, and you might not go to Seoul. You might not go to another World Youth Day ever, but hold on to that. It's a little glimmer of heaven. We heard a young, actually, she's one of the Montreal pilgrims, who said that World Youth Day was a glimpse of heaven. And then
Mm.
I think that I've heard that before, and but the way she said it really hit me, that she thought this was what heaven would be like, of a universal church, people from different I mean, it's the book of Revelations, right? People from every race and every nation and every language
Yeah.
together with joy, um together with joy, I mean, really. And then she said everybody should have the chance to go to a World Youth at least once in their life, so that you get a
Absolutely.
little glimmer of heaven, and then maybe that's the next time you'll experience that will be in heaven.
I would also add to that you can relive the Rise Up catechesis events, the
Oh
one
yeah, yeah,
on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We recorded actually the catechesis from the
that's true.
bishops on both on all of the days, the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For those of you who probably missed out, and maybe you went to one and you're like, I don't remember what that bishop said. Well, come over to our website and look at it over at
Yeah, that's a good idea.
2023 and listen to that. Besides reading the homilies of the Pope, relive the catechesis of
Yeah,
those
it's a great
days.
idea.
And then see how you can unpack those as well.
Yeah.
As you know, Deacon Pedro mentioned, it's important to process things and make time for that. But I want to add there though, and something that maybe, I don't know if you forgot it on purpose, but we have a blessing leading up to this next World Youth Day, that the Jubilee of 2025
No,
is
I
in
did
the
forget.
middle of it.
I didn't leave it out on purpose. I forgot.
I know you did it.
Completely forgot.
I forget it too, but it's like 2025 is coming in. There will be a Jubilee of Youth, but not a World Youth Day. I want to make that clear. It's not World Youth Day, but it's an opportunity for you to dive deeper into unpacking these.
Yeah, that's true. And there will be a link in the same way that the Synod of Youth was kind of like the Pope. Everything he did about the Synod of Youth, he made a connection to World Youth Day Panama because it was related. In the same way, I think that the journey to soul from Lisbon goes through Rome, through the Jubilee. And there will be a Jubilee of Youth, but there will be a Jubilee of journalists and a Jubilee of artists and a Jubilee of families.
Catechists.
Exactly. So there's going to be all these events. And that's another great opportunity for us to go to Rome, or at least link to those events that are happening. And in the US, you have the Eucharistic Revival.
That's right. Next year.
Everything needs to be related. Everything needs to be connected.
Absolutely. Intertwined, right? Interconnected. The links have to be connected so that way we can see the big picture of the universal church. Sometimes, you have this rural parish in the middle of nowhere. It could be Manitoba or it could be Kansas for all that we know. But I had to throw in Manitoba in there for you Canadians.
I love Manitoba.
Yeah. But the most important thing is like to see that you are not just this small piece of a link, but you're connected to the universal church, the mystical body of Christ, which is huge. You'd see that at World Youth Day. Everyone saw that at World Youth Day. That the language barrier was not even an issue anymore. It was the fact that you're unified together as a communion, as a body, living organism, excited, enthusiastic. And that's one of the reasons why the next 2 years, and we posted this also on our just most recent news, the next 2 years, the themes of the local World Youth Days in the local level, on the local organizing church, I love how they call it that, or Diocesan World Youth Day, is the message of hope. You bring joy to hope to transform the world. That's the Synod's theme, not just the Synod, sorry, the theme of the Jubilee is the hope of Christ transforming the world. What a time we're living in. And I've said this before too, World Youth Day is like a booster of hope, a glimpse of hope, a taste of heaven, as Deacon Pedro mentioned, from one of the girls from Canada. I love that because we do have some time to prepare for the Jubilee, and we'll talk more about the Jubilee when we get more details. Right now, we just know the dates, which is the last week in July, leading to the first week in August. Definitely look at planning on being there. If you don't make it to Rome, it's okay. Like most of the journalists will
everything's going to be live streamed or broadcast.
Absolutely. You can even have a local Jubilee of Youth.
You can.
If you can't make it to Rome. That's the nice thing about the Jubilee year, is that hopefully on the local level, on every diocese has a very similar Jubilee experience, that they have a church dedicated, whether it's the cathedral or another church, where it's dedicated for you to make your pilgrimage to that site, so that you can also get the graces that the Lord wants to bestow upon you on the experience of your journey in life. I mean, granted, just reflecting, on Lisbon, the joy and then the hope that is coming with the Jubilee, get ready, because it's going to be quite an adventure. I think of what the spiritual life entails is an adventure. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, that's the other thing too. But it's going to be a beautiful journey. Even the saints and the martyrs have all cried that out. And we'll talk more about that, because I know one of the things, I spoke to one of the priests in Korea about it, and he said to me, the story of the martyrs, of the Korean martyrs, will be definitely the focal point of Korea. the story of martyrs, because that should be an awareness now that you will be socially persecuted for it.
Yeah.
We're not living in a Christian era. I've said that so many times.
Yeah.
We're living in apostolic times, and that joy needs to be radiated in your life. That
Yeah.
hope needs to be radiated in your life. Be
Yes.
prepared
Yes.
to share the hope that is in you, as
And
Saint
that,
Paul
yeah.
describes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And as we close, maybe I'd like to say that that's the hope that we need right now. I mean, as we pray for the hostages in
Yes.
Gaza and those who've lost their lives in this horrible, ridiculous conflict on both sides,
Yeah.
um, and all the governments, world powers that are aiding and abetting and involved and for all the probably wrong reasons. We need to bring hope, the hope that Jesus Christ brings, and suffering sometimes is part of that, but we don't go looking for suffering. We bring the joy and we bring hope, and we always have a word of hope. Um, so yeah, it's more needed now than ever.
Yeah. Let's continue to pray for peace, not only
Yes.
in the Holy Land, but most importantly in the hearts of all Palestinians and Jews together,
And
that
yes,
they can find a way to come up with a way to diplomacy that brings peace,
sword
rather
to sword.
than
Yes.
the victims who are going to be in the middle of this, right?
Yes.
It breaks my heart, but you're right, more than anything.
Yeah.
From all of us at worldyouth.com and WYD Central, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll stay tuned for more, because we will continue this topic in further episodes.
Yes.
But thank you guys so much for joining us, and let's continue to pray for the world, especially for the Holy Land. God
Yes.
bless you guys.
Amen.